Roxy OnlyFans% is an actual speedrun in the security breach category extensions leaderboard, and while the name is very strange to say the least, the run is quite normal and only really consists of getting the line,
Freddy, get out of my room,
which happens in Roxy's room at around 3 AM. So let's take a look at my worst run to see what the route is and what we can do to make it better. To start, we need to grab the Faz watch, save the game for later, and crawl through the vents. And once we're out of Freddy's room, the next place that we need to go is Blast, which is not only very far away in the atrium, but it's also very far away in the game's time, with us normally needing to get all the way to 4 AM before we can even start it. And to solve these issues, we can get to Blast by going up to this curtain, and for what I can only assume is because of its collision overlapping, it means we can just spam jump, which lets us climb it and also deloads the whole game. And then if we head to around here, we can arrive just outside of Blast. But without the party pass, how do we enter it? Well, after some parkouring to get past this fence and then jumping onto this handrail, we can jump towards Blast, which completely deloads everything, meaning we could just walk in. And once we complete it by picking up and depositing the Blaster, we can Freddy deload out to the save that we got at the start, as it is right next to backstage. And once we're at the door, calling Freddy over means we can bypass any restrictions it would normally have. But before anything, we must turn our voice volume up or everything breaks. We also need to make sure when calling Freddy into the room that we don't call him too close to the wall or he never enters. And after we pick up the security badge, we need to wait until the icon appears before we deload out, or we just don't get the performance disc.
There's something else in here. What's this? It looks old.
A lot of things can go wrong if you do it badly. With the disc now in our inventory, we need to head to this display case and basically climb up it. And that leads us to this wall that has just no collision, meaning if we go through it, we can reach the backstage vent that leads us to the atrium very quickly. And once we enter the atrium near the stage, we need to climb over many barriers and slowly run up the escalators so that we can start the showtime sequence. And then once we go right back down to where we were, and start the stage elevator, we can finally trigger 3 AM. And once we enter the charging station cutscene that actually pushes us to 3 AM, we can completely skip the endo section by just simply calling Freddy, which for some reason works. By the way, this means we can use Freddy to open Roxy's elevator door, and after waiting ages for Freddy to get there, we can finish the speedrun with a time of 12 minutes and 16 seconds. Quickly, quickly. I think that's it, but we could do so much better. If we take a look at the world record currently, there is so much time that we can save. Some I would love to do, and others I've tried for hours to recreate, but I've only ever got it once in a run, and it took so long that it isn't even worth it. But for one, we can cut a corner heading to Blast. We could travel through unloaded Blast so we keep our momentum. We can instantly walk through Freddy's door so we don't need to Freddy deload again. We can jump against the display case much quicker than we did before. We could jump to the bottom of the atrium instead of walking down there. We can skip the stage elevator moon cutscene, but I'm not even sure if that saves much time. And finally, we can call Freddy while we're in Roxy's elevator. All of these save time in some different way, so let's see which of these I can pull off well. We were able to cut the corner in Blast. We kept our momentum while out of bounds. We removed the need for a second Freddy deload by walking straight through the door. We climbed the display case basically first time. We completely skipped needing to walk down the escalators. I was able to skip the elevator cutscene, but I don't think I did it right, so I didn't really save any time. but I did save a ton of time calling Freddy while in the elevator, so I didn't need to wait for him.
Freddy, get out of my room!
Sub 9, oh my. The next run I want to show off is one called Woman%, and this just consists of us getting the white woman jump scare as quick as we can, which I was able to do in 9 minutes and 36 seconds. To start the run, like the Roxy OnlyFans speedrun, we need to head over to Feather Blast as quick as possible, which we could do by climbing this curtain, and once we actually get there and complete Feather Blast, we in this case do need to pick up the security badge for the end of the run so we can actually complete this. And the next place that we need to go is daycare so we can get the second security badge. But as this is only an out of bounds speedrun, it means we can't Freddy deload. So instead, if we stand about here in the elevator doors, after we get jump scared, the whole game deloads and we could just run out. And once we jump over all the barriers and head to the elevators near the start of the atrium, while we can't access them, we can still thankfully run along this wall, which triggers an out of bounds map bot that also pulls us out of bounds, and we can use that to completely bypass the elevator, and if we're lucky enough and quick enough, bypass the door to the daycare. For us to skip doing the whole generator sequence of daycare while still grabbing the security badge, as it takes a long time to actually trigger, we can climb onto these boxes around us and jump over any invisible walls that will spawn. We can use this button before the cutscene starts and skip the whole daycare. Then once we leave daycare, we need to head over to these shutters near the entrance of the actual facility and then jump through this wall, which brings us out of bounds. And if we head back in the same direction where Freddy would normally be, we can then just deload the game, which we don't need to actually pause to reach the kitchen for. And then once we're there, we need to head over to the loading dock that we can't bring Freddy into, which is why we even got the security badges, and then trigger the mission that enables the white woman. And while avoiding Chica, we can head over to start the cutscene and end the speedrun. The next two speedruns I want to cover are very different to the normal game speedruns that you may expect, and these are IRL Pizza Percent and IRL Slice of Cake, and you may be able to guess what they are. And because I didn't make anything or do these runs myself, I'm not going to show any of them, but I'm just going to talk about them a bit. For IRL Pizza Percent, there are so many different subcategories for the different types of toppings, and also the different types of game. There's New Game Plus for this, but all that means is they use a microwave. And these runs are quite simple, with them just making a pizza as quick as possible, and they're also quite quick, most of them. But if we're talking about IRL Slice of Cake, that is so much longer because they're cakes and they require more time. The final thing I do want to cover are a couple of the rejected category extension speedruns. For example, one is called Toaster Percent, where you need to beat the game in 20 FPS or lower. Phone Percent, which is by playing the game but only being able to see it through your phone. And the worst idea that I could find is Pain Percent, which is 600% in the game, which is already an insanely long speedrun itself. But you can't run, hide, use Freddy for anything that isn't mandatory, and you can't use any tools like the Fazcam or Faz Blaster, which I don't understand why anyone would do it. Oh, and you need to do all the endings in a specific order. But finally, my favorite of these is Chair Percent, where you need to sit in this specific chair as quick as you can. But that's all I really wanted to cover. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe.